Good morning, everyone. I looked at the footage from when I installed the windshield here on the Interceptor. It wasn't really that good a view, so I did manage to get some good pictures, so we're going to take a look at that, and we'll get the headlight off, and we'll see what's going on inside. This is a touring screen from Royal Enfield. This is what comes in the box. There were not any instructions included. I followed a couple YouTube videos of other windscreens being mounted to kind of figure things out. So what comes in the box? You get a hardware checklist, you get the windshield, 2 mounting brackets, you get 4 rubber grommets, 4 top hats, 4 3mm screws, and 2 10mm bolts. The tools needed for this install are a small flathead, a 3mm Allen key, a socket wrench, a 10mm socket, a 12mm socket, an 18mm wrench, and a Phillips screwdriver. A couple of the YouTube videos I watched recommended disconnecting the battery. I did not. It didn't cause any issues, but do so at your own risk. There are 2 Phillips screws on the headlight, one on each side. Both of those will need to be removed. You'll want to brace the headlight before you take out the second screw. That way the headlight does not fall off and break. When removing the headlight, you'll want to pull towards you and then slightly up. There is a notch at the top of the headlight. I wanted to remove the headlight completely from the housing. Originally I had the red connector disconnected, but I couldn't figure out how to get the black one disconnected and I was worried about breaking it. I just laid the headlight on the front fender. Looking into the headlight, there are 2 metal wire harnesses on each side. They are tucked behind the headlight mounting bolt and hold the wires in place. You'll want to push each of them back so you're able to get some slack on the turn signal connectors. The 2 turn signal connectors are highlighted. When you're looking at the front of the bike, the left connector is white, the right connector is black. You will only want to remove one at a time, otherwise you're going to have to fiddle with the level of the headlight. If you have both headlight mounting bolts loose, the headlight is going to move all over the place. This was probably the hardest part of the whole job. You can see highlighted here there is a small tab on the connector. I didn't realize this at first, and that's what you'll need the small flathead for. You'll want to press down on that tab and then separate the connector. You can see here on the black one I kind of scratched it a little bit trying to get the connector separated. Looking at the left side of the headlight here, you will see a 12mm bolt holding the headlight in place, and there is an 18mm nut that is holding the turn signal in place. You'll want to remove both of these. When you get the turn signal loosened, you will be able to pull the wire out the back of the headlight and then through the headlight mount. On the left side, there is a washer that sits between the nut and the headlight mount. You'll want to make note of that so it gets installed correctly. When you take the indicator off, there is a notch at the bottom of the mount and the indicator so you know that it will be lined up correctly when you put it back in. The 18mm nut that holds the turn signal in place was a little tricky to get to with my wrench. I found it easiest to go from the bottom underneath of the headlight to turn it and loosen it, so I would give that a shot first. You can see here I now have the mounting bracket back in place. You'll want to use the 10mm screw that was provided with the installation kit. You can see the wrench coming from the bottom side and tightening the 18mm nut to hold the turn signal back in place. Remember, on the left side of the bike there is a washer that goes between the headlight mount and the 18mm nut, so make sure that that is there. You'll want to run the connector cable through the headlight mount, and then you can run it through the back of the headlight and connect everything together again. Here's another view of the left mount on the bike. You can see the 10mm bolt in place. Once you have the 10mm bolt secured and the 18mm nut secured, you can move on to the other side of the bike. I forgot to take a removal picture of the right side of the bike, but it pretty much follows the same process as the left side. The right side, however, does not have a washer, but it does have a metal wire. I think that this wire goes between the nut and the mount, similar to how the washer did. When I removed the nut, I didn't pay attention to this wire, but the way I put it together, it makes most sense for the wire to sit between the 18mm nut and the headlight mount. Here's a view of the mount installed on the right hand side of the bike. Again, you want to use the 10mm bolt that was provided in the installation kit. The 18mm nut is on the back side of the turn signal here. I found it easiest on this side as well to go from the bottom of the headlight to loosen and tighten the 18mm nut. With the left side and right side mounts both secured, it is now time to move on to the windscreen. I apologize, I did not have a picture of the rubber grommets. I had already installed those into the windscreen. What we have here are 4 top hats, as Royal Enfield calls them, and 4 3mm screws. The first thing you'll want to do is take the 4 rubber grommets and you'll want to install them in the 4 mounting holes on the windscreen. After you have the 4 rubber grommets installed, you'll want to drop the top hats into the mounting hole with the top of the hat going down into the rubber grommet. This is what the final combination will look like of the 3mm screw, the top hat, and the rubber grommet. You don't want to put all the screws in at once. You want to line the windscreen up with your mounts, and then what I would do is start in the corners. So do either top right, bottom left, or top left and then bottom right when you screw things in. It will help keep the alignment straight. Here's a view of using the 3mm Allen key to tighten the screws to the mount. Here's a view of the back of the mount with the windscreen installed. This is the left-hand side of the bike, and then there is one of the right-hand side of the bike. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope this little install tutorial was helpful for you if you decide to purchase a touring screen for your Interceptor 650. And now let's take a look and see what it looks like on the bike.